Senator Lyons.
Thank you, Mr Deputy President. I rise to take note of answers from Senator Brandis to questions from Senator Wong, Collins and O'Neill. And I'd like to put on the record that my grandmother was a staunch feminist and she wouldn't have had a doily in her house to put anywhere. So again, we see this broad generalisation, these sweeping statements from the government to anything that's serious. But today, when we tried to ask very serious questions around citizenship, around cabinet leaks, around—
Senator Lyons, just resume your seat. The Senate needs to come to order, and I want Senator Lyons to be given the same respect that I insisted be given to Senator McGrath, and that's to be heard in silence. Senator Lyons.
The Deputy President. And so what those opposite don't like to hear is they don't like to hear the truth. And there are very serious questions being asked in Australia right now by voting Australians and indeed by the media about what really transpired on the high seas. And the government can say all it likes that they may have stopped the boats, but they've certainly turned boats around and they've made boats disappear. And what they don't appreciate, because they're really a government of the 1960s, is that the media has moved on. We've got a 24/7 media now. We've got Twitter, we've got Facebook, we've got all sorts of investigations going on, and you can't hide these things. And so this morning, whether they liked it or not, evidence has come out that, yes, the Abbott government has paid captains of leaky boats to turn them around and go back to Indonesia. And we will hear more and more about that, because just like their cabinet leak, that leak is now out, and more journalists will go after the truth. So we stand in here and we hear Senator Brandis use the term braying. Well, what I would say, I heard braying from Brandis today, braying from Senator Brandis. That is what we heard in this place today. And they can berate and they can ridicule and they can yell like Senator Back chose to do, but the truth will come out, and it is slowly coming out. And they can deny answering questions. One week they'll give a comment and the next week they won't. But the truth is, on what is happening on our high seas, despite them trying to brand everything as an on-water matter, trying to brand everything as something that's national security, that eventually the truth will come out. And we will not resolve from asking the hard questions in this place. And they can refuse to give answers, or they can give ridiculous, insulting 10-second answers like we heard today from Senator Brandis, but we will continue to ask them and the truth will come out. And today, what an embarrassing start to the day to have two inquiries simply because they refuse to tell the truth, simply because they won't come clean in this place, that somehow they can think they can avoid scrutiny. Well, they cannot. And on the issue of citizenship, we've heard all sorts of rumours. We know, for example, there's a real problem in the government, not just between the backbenchers and the government, but between cabinet ministers. There's a real issue on the issue of citizenship, because, as usual, the Abbott government has tried to jump out there and bully people and try and somehow lead by berating and belittling people, but others in the cabinet have kind of said, hang on, enough's enough. So now they've got a leak in their cabinet. And despite them now not wanting to talk to us about citizenship, what they might be proposing, they try and pretend they're just still consulting. Well, that won't wash either. And now we've got an eminent QC here who's made comments in the media. And what do we hear? We see cherry-picking by Senator Brandis. We just see cherry-picking. And despite Brett Walker himself saying he's been misquoted, did that stop the flurry of Senator Brandis from insulting him? No. Well, Senator Brandis might like to read fiction and poetry at Senate estimates, but if the man who wrote the report said, I didn't say that, that fiction, given in answers to questions today from Senator Brandis, will not wash. Because what this government needs to learn is you might be able to hoodwink some people some of the time, but that does not last. And we had Brett Walker today clearly say, I heard him myself this morning on the radio, he's been misquoted. And yet here today, The man who said, you know, bigots are good, somehow tried to say, no, Brett Walker got that wrong, that somehow this is what he said. Well, cherry-picking won't wash, and I'm sure Brett Walker will continue to defend himself as he should, and we in this place will continue
Order,
the hard
Senator,
questions.
your time has expired.